We're going to focus initially today on exponential functions and how do we find the equation of exponential functions. So that's going to be where we start. But then as the lesson goes on, we are going to start remixing. I call them the big four functions, which are straight lines, parabolas, hyperbolas, and exponential. We're going to remix them together into different types of questions. So that's the goal for today. And then let's start with question number one. So question number one is you are given the equation of a function in that format. And we know because the x is an exponent that this must be an exponential function. Really what that means is we need to find the value of a, we need to find the value of b, and we need to find the value of q. And the information we're given is this drawing over here. Which value would you try and get first if we have to find the equation of this exponential function? Which would you go after first? Yep. Q is the easiest because Q relates to the horizontal asymptote. So actually, it's so easy in that sense, we would go that this has to be -1. All right, next we have to go after either the B or the A. What other information do we have? Well, we have this one, I'll call it the red point. And then we have the green point. What would you try and find next? A or B? Would you use the green point? Would you use the red point? What do you think we should do? If you're wondering what the full coordinate of the green one is, it would be 0, 5. So if you know how to figure out A and B, go ahead and do it. If you know which one you would do first, let us know in the chat. So I think I would use the 0, 5 first because that 0, 5 is going to be very useful. And so if I do that, I go 5 is equal to A times B to the 0 minus 1. And the good news is that this becomes 1, which means that really I've got 5 equals A minus 1. And if I bring it across, I'm going to get A is 6. So in fact, this is going to be 6, and I've used this point already. Find me the value of B using the red point. Find me the value of B using the red point, and I'll wait for answers in the chat. I'll be back in a second. What are you guys getting for B? Let me use a different color. So 1 equals 6 times b to the minus 1 minus 1. So we need to get that b by itself. Who has some ideas? Where could I go next? Ooh, okay. I think, Ronnie, you're onto something there. So I'm going to bring the 1 across, and I get 2 equals 6 to the times b to the minus 1. Then I'm going to bring the 6 across, and I get this. Which really, if I want to simplify 2 over 6, that's the same as 1 over 3 equals b to the minus 1. Now, there's a couple of ways you could solve this. The one is to raise both sides to minus 1. If you do that, you get b to the 1 equals a third to the minus 1, and you'll get your answer. Or the other way of doing this, instead of using the both sides to the power of minus 1, you could say, well, look, b to the minus 1 is just 1 over b, in which case these two values must be equal, and b must be equal to 3. And so the equation of this function is going to be 6 times 3 to the power of x minus 1. Give me a thumbs up if you followed that whole question. Give me a thumbs down if you didn't. Stephen, Gundo, okay, perfect. Okay, let's do a slightly easier, well, I don't know if it is easier, but in this case, the exponential function is not that exciting. It's just y equals a to the x. So there's no other funky transformations. But what they say is that the point Q is minus 3/8. Can you find the equation of this exponential function, which really means, can you find what a is? Can you find what a is? So how would you use the point Q to help you find a? That's what we're trying to do. Exactly. So you're going to go 8 is equal to a to the minus 3. Now, how are you going to get the a by itself? Well, again, you have two choices. You can raise both sides to some power, in which case, what power should I raise both sides to? Excuse me, my voice is going funny. What power should I raise both sides to in order to get a by itself? I want this to be an a to the 1, but you need to tell me which power should I use. You're almost there, Stephen. So it is a 3. Well, actually, no, because if I put a 3 here, I get -9. What I really want, +3 would give me, so in some ways, what I want actually is, this isn't even right either, but what I really want is 1/3, but even that doesn't work. So what, instead of 1/3, what would be awesome to raise that side by? It would actually be -1/3. Now, if I raise this side to -1/3, I also have to raise this side to -1/3. So let me make it like a bit smaller so you can see it. Now, here's the good news. Because I chose the reciprocal, okay, the 3's here are going to cancel. The minuses are going to cancel. The 1's are going to cancel. And all that I got left is a 1. So I get a to the power of 1 on this side when I use the reciprocal. But now you have to work out what is a to the power of -1/3. Well, you could use your calculator for that. Or you could use your knowledge of exponents. What do you guys get for a to the power of -1/3? Yeah, it's going to be a half. And that makes sense because I have a decreasing exponential here, right? So it goes down like that. So just to show you that this would have worked in this way as well, if you take 8, 8 is the same as 2 to the 3. And if you have a -1/3 outside the bracket, when you multiply those two together, the 3's cancel and you get 2 to the -1, which is the same as 1/2, which is what your calculator said. So what is the equation of this function? It's just y equals a half to the power of x. Okay, so clearly subbing in points and finding values is a sneaky part of this exponential function idea. Okay, next one. Let's do another one. So you are given an exponential function of the form y equals a times bx plus q. You have to find, obviously, the a, the b, and the q. I want you to do this by yourself. And then I want you to work out and then tell me in the chat, what is a, what is b, what is q? So it's over to you. You're going to fly solo on this one. Or at least you're going to ask questions as you go. Okay, so I think the first one I would go for is Q, which, Ronnie, I agree with you. The Q is probably the easiest one to get because you can see it's 4. So this is going to be plus 4. So now you have to find me A and B. And I think it's the same as last time where we've got these 2 points. Now this point, the y-intercept, even though it's not written as a coordinate, it is actually a coordinate. It's 0, 2, and I would use that first. So I would plug that in. And what's lovely about the y-intercept is the x is 0, which means it essentially knocks out this, because this is 1, but 1 doesn't do anything. So now we've got 2 is equal to a plus 1. Is that right? Sorry, a plus 4. I just managed to eliminate one of the things in the question. Let me put that back. So what is my a value going to be now? Because I put the 0 there, that became 1. I've got a plus 4 already. What does a have to be? It has to be minus 2. Yes. Okay, so what have we got so far? We've got y is equal to a, well, no, we just found that out. That is minus 2 times b to the x plus 4. What we need to do is find out what that is. So figure out for me what b is. You've only got the green one left to help you. Ooh, interesting question, Ronnie. You can't use the same point twice. No, you can't. Unfortunately, once you've used it once, all the good stuff in that question you've used up. It's almost like you can't get any new information because you've already used it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the point 1 minus 2. And we must be careful here because it's easy to put stuff in the wrong place. But if I put minus 2 as the y value, there was already a minus 2 here. Then I go b to the 1, and then I go plus 4. So now, what do I have next? Well, I bring the minus 4 across. Well, I take away 4 from both sides, and I get minus 6 is minus 2b. So what is my b value going to be? When I divide both sides by minus 2, I get that b is equal to 3. And so the final equation that I was looking for is going to be minus 2 times 3 to the x plus 4. And what we notice is that, can you see how this is a decreasing exponential? It's going down. It's like coming down for landing. It's bending downwards, and that makes sense because of this negative thing in front is causing it to bend downwards like that. Give me a thumbs up if you followed that question. That was a bit tougher. Give me a thumbs up if you understood it. Give me a thumbs down if you didn't. Want to get a feel for the group, how everybody is. Do they feel like they followed it? They need more explanation? Let me know in the chat. Let the people vote. Fantastic. Okay. So, Stephen, if we look at the main steps that we use, just to go over them, it was the asymptote first of all. The asymptote helped us figure out what this 4 was. Then we took this point over here, 0, 2, and we plugged it in to help us find what a was. And then the last one was we took this point 1 minus 2, which was here, and it helped us find what b was. And that's how we got those values. Let's see if we can squeeze in one more before the break. Okay, so this is another one of those relatively straight, well, not too straightforward, but they say that you're given a function which is q equals a to the x, which is the same as just saying that. I want you to tell me what the equation of this function is, or essentially figure out what the value of a is. And I want you to just look at the picture, and then you're going to tell me what you get. So the point that we're going to use is going to be here, because that's the point on the line. We could use this one, I suppose, but then if I use this point, anything to the power of naught is 1. So we don't know. It's actually better if we use this point over here. And so we are going to put 1 over 3 equals a to the 1. And so a is actually equal to a third. And the equation of this function is a third to the power of x. Okay, next part of this question. I want you to figure out what is the value of p, the y coordinate of the point that is on this exponential function. So you now know what the equation of this exponential function, it is that. If I tell you that there's a coordinate with -2 as its x value, what's the y value that goes with that? I want you to work out, or visually you could see it as whatever that value over there is. So work that out for me. Okay, let's see. So we're going to take this, and all we're going to do is we're going to put an x is -2, and then using our calculators, what is that going to give me? I think it's going to give me 9. Another way of seeing this is if you write 1/3 as that, 3 to the -1, when you multiply that, you get 3 squared, and then you get 9. So that's perfect. Okay, so that is what the coordinate for p would be. It would be 9. And you can see it had to be positive. All right, we're halfway through. In fact, we're more than halfway through. Let us just stand for a second, take a quick break. Doesn't have to be long, but just something to tell your body, okay, relax for a second. So we're just going to put our arms out, and we're just going to turn for a little bit. Oh, I can hear my body's clicking like there's no tomorrow. Can you hear the double clicks in my joints? Okay. And then let's, oh, okay, let's do that. And then let's roll our shoulders. Okay, let's roll forward. Okay. Then let's do some jumping jacks. So this is just to get the blood flow moving. We're going to do 12 of them. And this is what a jumping jack looks like. And we'll do it in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. And that is it. Let's do a little puzzle just to keep our brains guessing a little bit. So here is today's logic puzzle. Can you work out what a candy stick minus jelly beans is going to be equal to? Let me know in the chat what you think the answer is. So fish is 5. Yeah, because clearly that's a 1. So the fish must be 5. I agree. So what have we got left? We've got jelly beans and candy sticks or whatever that is left. What are those going to be? What's that going to give us? Rainbow stick 25. I think you. I agree with you. 25. But now how would you get that? Oh, yes, because 26 minus what gives you 1? This must be 25. So that must be 25. So what are my jelly beans going to be? So jelly beans, 5 plus 5. So this is going to be 15 in total. So then what is the final answer going to be? What is the final answer going to be? Well, we've got 25 minus 15, because that is at the bottom here. This is what we're trying to get. We're trying to work out what is this, and that must be 10. Yep. Awesome. Yeah, that was a little bit hard. I mean, it wasn't super hard, but it was kind of fun puzzle in that Goldilocks zone, which is kind of cool. Okay, let's just do 15 more minutes tonight. So we'll just do a little bit more, and then we will call it a day for today. So let's start by looking at a remix question. So it says here, find the equation of each of the functions below. Now, there are two equations. There's an exponential equation that looks like that, and there is a straight line equation that looks like that. And you are given this information. Which one would you start by finding the equation of? If you were in an exam or test, which one would you start with? The red or the green? Yeah, I'd start with the straight line. And to find the equation of the straight line, you're probably just going to use the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So I'll even write down those 2 points for you, minus 2 naught and naught minus a half. So find me the equation of that straight line. So finding the gradient would probably be a good first step. What did you get for m? So minus a half minus 0 0 minus minus 2 should be minus a half over 2, which is minus a quarter. Yes, Ronnie agrees. All right. Now, what is the C value going to be? What is the C value going to be? Actually, look, this goes through the y-intercept, so that has to be minus a half. And so we've done the first one. Now we need to do this one. We need to find the exponential one. Now we know that its equation, we know that it's of this format. So really all we need to find is what Q is. What are we going to do to help us find Q? Yeah. So you're just going to have to sub in X and Y. The question is, what are you subbing in? And the key bit of insight is that the y-intercept is what you have here. So if you look at this question, the y-intercept is a half, but really its full coordinate is 0 minus a half. So if you're subbing that in, you're going to get minus a half equals 2 to the 0 plus q. So what is q going to be in that case? I'm going to take away 1 from both sides, and I should get minus 3 over 2 equals q, or another way of saying it is minus 1.5. And so the equation is going to be 2 to the power of x minus 1.5, or minus 3 over 2. Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you followed that. Give me a thumbs down if you didn't. It'll help me understand what sort of question I should choose next. Okay. Stephen, Gundo, how did it go for you? Cool. All right, so probably the last question we're going to do today. This is from a past exam paper. It says you're given the exponential function in the following form. You're given the 2 points. So you're given A, which is over here, and you're given B, but it's not a complete point, but it's just part of it. And you're also given the asymptote is at y equals 2. Show that the equation of f is the following. So if they say show that, you need to start with the original and then work out the unknown thing. So you need to work out what B is and what Q is. What would your first step be in doing this? What would you use, or where would you start in trying to figure out what B and Q are? Yeah, the Q is the easiest one. It has to be 2. So you're just going to go straight to that. See if you can find me what B is, or what would you use to get B now? Yeah, you would just use the point. In fact, the only point that you have is 120. So if I took 120, I'd put a 20 where the y is, and then I'd put a 1 where the x is. And what is your B value going to end up being then? Okay, so take away 2 like this. And then you've got 18, but 18 divided by 2 on both sides. So that's going to be 9 is b squared. And then b has to be 3. And that's good news because that's what they wanted us to get. So we got our 2 values, which were that this was 2. We showed that. And then this, we showed that. Okay, next question. Calculate the y coordinate of b. So this is referring to the point over here, -1y. What is that y value that is in the coordinate or in the point b? I want you to work that out for me. So all we need to do is take that -1 and put it into the function f. So we go, so where there's an x, we put a -1. Then 3 -1 plus 1 is 0. So we get that, which is 2 times 1 plus 2, which is 4. So the value of the y coordinate is 4, or another way to think about it is that it's in line with 4 over there. Okay, next question. Write down the range of f. Now, range refers to the y values that are valid in the function f. Now, the big thing to look at is there's a big pink line that stops the function from going certain places. See if you can use that to write down the range of f. There's 2 ways of writing it. There's interval notation and set builder. See if you can write it in the chat for me. What is the range of the function f? Now, the big thing that is dominating the range is this y is equal to 2. But if you want to look at the range will be the values above the pink line, but not touching the pink line, because that's an asymptote. It never gets there. So how would we describe this range over here? We would describe it by saying y is greater than 2. Or if we were using interval notation, we would say we start at 2, but we don't include 2. And we go to infinity, but we don't include infinity. And you could say, in addition to y is greater than 2, y would be an element of the reals. Now, you wouldn't say x, because x would relate to what's called the domain. So for this particular function, the domain can be any x value, but that's not what the question asked. So this asked about the range, which relates to the y value. All right, calculate the coordinates of the y-intercept of f. I like that face, Ronnie. Okay, so basically, if we talk about domain, we talk about the x values. If we talk about range, we talk about the y values. Okay, so for this particular graph, you can put any x value you like into this graph, and it will still give you a valid number. And so in this particular function, the domain will be x is any real, but that's not what they asked. What they asked was, what is the range? And the range is basically y must be greater than, not equal to, y is greater than 2. Okay, find me this red dot over here, the y-intercept. Okay, let's find. To find the y-intercept, you need to make x equal to 0. So to find the y-intercept, you make x equal to 0. Okay, now, let's take, what is the f of 0? Okay, so now we have 2 times 3 to the 1 plus 2, which is 6 plus 2, which is 8. Indeed, that is 8. Perfect. Okay, last thing. Is this an increasing or decreasing function? Is this an increasing or decreasing function? What do we think? Yeah. So this is definitely an increasing function. And the reason is, as x gets bigger, so as we go to the right, as x gets bigger, y gets bigger. So that is an increasing function because as I go across, I go up. It would be a decreasing function if as I go across, I went down. So this is definitely an increasing function. Okay, so in the last lesson of functions, we're going to be doing trig functions next term, but for this term, our last live lesson on Wednesday is going to be about remixing all the functions together. So we'll start to put the parabolas and the exponentials together. We'll start to look at things like if I ask you to draw 2 different types of functions, and then I ask you interpretation questions about that. That is where we are going on Wednesday. Okay. The other thing to remind you is that on Wednesday, we're not going to be using Zoom. We are going to be using Google Meet.